Welcome back to Gmax 1.2 for the beginning modeler. This is video number 44. We're building the virtual cockpit in parts, and this is part 5 of this series. The objective in this video is to build the electrical box, as you see here, the ECU, the engine control unit, the levers, and animate the levers, and we'll try to add knobs in this video as well. So with that said, let's get started. I'm not going to spend the time to build the box here because it's just a simple box with the edges selected and chamfered. Then I deleted off the unseen polys, so I think you're able to handle that without problem. And it's just roughly sized and placed, and we'll worry about that later on as we get more parts in the scene and try to get things where they belong, sized proportionately, and what have you. So let's go ahead and freeze that so it's not in the way. And the rest of the cockpit I also have frozen. Those things that might be in the way, like the seat and the joystick that I want in here just for a visual reference, I have changed to see-through and then frozen them. So now we're down to the ECU. So let's talk about how to build that and get that done. And so we'll go ahead and delete that, get it out of the way, and start it again. So we're going to come in here kind of tight so we can kind of see what's going on better. And we're going to start out with a cylinder, and we're going to do a 32-sided because we're going to delete most of it anyhow, so it's not an issue. We're going to do 4 height segments, I guess. We'll see what goes on here. We're going to make this pretty large because small doesn't seem to cut it. And I don't know just how large this needs to be just yet, but it probably needs to be thicker than that. So let's 0.08 maybe. We'll start there anyhow and see what happens. And we're going to need some height segment, or cap segments, I'm sorry. I'm going to add 2 of them. just to show you how busy these things can get. And let's just move it over here in the vicinity and bring it down to about where it needs to be. Best we can tell at this point. Okay, so let's see. I've got what I need here. 1, 2, 3, I do. And back to the right side. Alright, let's just start chiseling away at this thing. The first thing we'll do, I guess, is kind of move this. Let's see what I've got here. Alright. Kind of move this up somewhere in here, and then we'll adjust it again later. Now we're going to get rid of most of this stuff, so start right off with, let's see, we're going to need about like that, so let's just knock these off. And, oops. There we go. I think I selected and moved that by mistake. Alright, and then we can move this up to kind of flatten out the bottom. But I want this to come down further, so let's stretch it down a bit. And that'll probably suffice. Yeah, I think that'll be alright. So, okay, let's kind of close in this end here. Create a poly here on the end to block it in. We're going to have to touch each of these vertices so there won't be any leaks, see-through leaks. There we have that. And I guess we can go ahead and delete polys. We won't need them. So that ends up making this 32-sided thing with a bunch of things pretty efficient. So it's not bad at all. Alright, so let's grab some edges here. These ones in the middle. What we got here? Actually, I don't want those. We just want these here and leave those available for labels or what have you, that for pilot information. And we're just going to chamfer these. What we're doing here is creating slots for the levers. That's going to go in here for the throttle, the prop, and the mixture. So once we have that, we can, our back facing is on, we can select these polys now, and we're going to extrude these downward to provide some realistic slots for these levers to sit in. You could really do this with these with textures and save the polys if we were in, say, combat flight sim or something, and we wanted to be poly light. But we can do better than that for FS 2004 or FSX as a port over. We need to extrude these at local. So we're just going to pull those down. You can see how they, something's a little weird there. Oh no, it's okay. Okay, that accomplishes what we needed to do. That's good. So we've got basically an ECU there in just a few minutes. And we'll do other things to clean it up. We'll put a bar sticking out here that will be the pivot point for the levers as they go back and forth. But that's a good start. Now later you could go in and delete the polys that are facing to the outside, because you really don't need them. You can't see them. Let's see, we just show you here. Delete them. Hopefully this doesn't screw up everything I just did. So strangely enough, I've been known to do that. So as you can see, you can't see them anyhow. So no sense having them hang around. Alright, so we've got an ECU started. Just call that ECU. We'll give it big capital letters. Engine Control Unit. Cool. So now that we have that, and that's really smooth enough, you're going to be looking at it from this direction, from the pilot seat. If you can see the seat here, and the pilot's head's up here, so you'll be looking down on it, and that looks nice and smooth. So don't let its appearance from the right side here fool you. Alright, now that we have that, let's create some levers. We'll do that just by creating a little boxy type thing here. What's up with Gmax? Alright, we'll use a big one here. Alright, lengthwise, we'll adjust that. Widthwise, it needs to be about like that. Nope, that's the wrong one. This needs to be about like that. Widthwise, we need to be about a ½ inch or so. What does a ½ inch give us? Well, we try 0.019 and size it down from there. 0.019, that's too fat. So 0.012, how about that? That might be alright. So let's move this over there and just kind of take a look and see what it looks like. Cool. Looks pretty good, actually. I'm going to move it up here to the center point since we're going to get it ready for rotating. for animation, I mean. And we're going to drop this down to about there, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we have ourselves a, let's call it a throttle lever. These are not animated names yet, so we'll just, the other levers are a little different length, with the throttle lever up tall and the other lever is a little shorter. So we'll shorten that up a little bit. And the mixture lever usually is bent away from the others a little, so we'll convert that to poly. Grab a poly here on the top, and we're going to, guess what, extrude a bit. Well, we can go ahead with it. Gonna pull that off to the side, and we could go Serena. No bugging me. Actually look a little fat, but oh well. You get the idea what we're trying to accomplish here. These need to do something like that. I'll cheat here and do a cheap little thingy. I know there's geez, it's way down there. Alright, I'm going to call this mixture lever T-R-E L-E-V-E-R, and we're going to move this down to here. Let's see, I think I forgot to rename this one to prop lever, and we'll convert that, shorten it up a little bit, and we may even curve it a little bit just for visual interest. Seem to be having alright, so let's bring all that down a little. And let's just playing here, no big deal. My cat's wanting something. So may hear her meowing in the background. Alright, so there we have 3 levers. Just like that. Now let's, if this thing doesn't want to be silly, let's do a little. Yeah, it does. It wants to be silly. Good grief. Alright, let's go with 0.01. A little bit bigger, 0.12. And let's go with, let's see, about 12 sides. And we want no height segments, and we want no cap segments. Just a simple little cylinder here. We're going to pull this down to make it the pivot point for the levers. And I don't use, oops, good grief, grabbed the wrong thing. That's where these coordinate restraints come in, constraints come in up here. If you want to go X, then by cracky, click the X, and you know you got the right one. Alright, so we got that. Let's change that color now that we got it in there. I'm going to change this to something. Let's change it to a light color, a lighter color. Alright, now let's set these pivots. We want to set these pivots for each of these right in the center of this rod that they're supposedly attached to. So we're going to do that. We want a local pivot as well. So we'll just move that down to right in the center. Set in the center, really. Let's do this. That's in the center, I think. So that's 2127, 266. Not that I'm going to remember that, 2177 and 266, but it's a good thought. Let's see, throttle lever, just pivot to 2127 and 266. Alright, you got it. Now let's go for the prop lever. And we want to go 21, 27, and 266. Let's undo that because I forgot to do that. Center to object, align to world. Reset scale. Now let's go 21, 27, and 266. Got that one. Now for the mixture lever. Back pivot only, center to object, align to world. I can see that these guys aren't actually lined up with each other, so not that that's a big deal. It's you actually never notice it. So 21, 27, and 266. All right, they're all those pivots are now set so that we can rotate these bad boys. And see, that doesn't look quite right because it kind of fall down. So we're going to raise that up to get the appearance right. So let's just see if we can find a good center that we move. Serena, my cat, wants to be up here on the keyboard with me. See if that'll work. No. Oh, it needs to be farther down. Duh. Alright. I'm a little slow, but we'll get there. It probably needs to be down about to here, which is fine. It doesn't have to be within here. It's not that I'm going to tell anybody, so yeah, that's looking a little better. Actually, it only goes to there. That'll work right there. So what is that? Location. That would be Y, Z 225, so that's where they all need to be. Alright, so bigger, quick adjustment here, prop lever, back pivot only. What did I say that was? 225, okay, duh. Alrighty, so we're going to affect pivot only and go 225. Then we're going to select the throttle lever and set that to 225. Now let's see if things moved the way they ought to. Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. So now we got that done. So let's see if we can do some animations here. Now let's see. And frankly, I can't remember, and I may get this backwards. So we're going to position these levers at the beginning locations, and like I say, I'm not sure I remember them, and I don't want to take the time to look it up because it'll take a minute to open up the SDK once I get a hold of it and find the part name, and so it'll tell me where to position these things. But I'll just give you what I think is correct. And I think this is the way it goes. So we'll try it with there. So let's start with the throttle here and create the pivot points. Rotation is 0, and 50 is a position, and 100 is a position. Alright. So okay, I had to pause the video to take care of the cat. So I am back, and while I was away, I looked up the SDK, and I saw that I had this backwards. So we're going to move the throttle to the max throttle position, and somewhere up in here. That'll be good. Now with the throttle, it's a little bit different in that 0 is max throttle, 50% is idle, and 100% is full reverse. So if you've got a aircraft with a reverser, turbine or jet, I guess, then that's the way it would be animated. So since this doesn't have reverse props on this one, we're going to go through the steps, but we're going to give it very little animation for the reverser. So we're going to go ahead and animate that while we're here. So 100 is max throttle, 50% is idle. So we're going to pull that back, make sure we're in local coordinate mode here. We're going to pull that back to idle, and then we're going to go to 100 here and maybe pull it back a smidge, so Gmax is happy with it. Alright, so we have that one done. Let's pick up the prop lever and make MDL, pick it up here. See if we can find the prop lever right quick. Here it is. Lever prop pitch. That's it. While I'm here, let's change the name of the throttle since I copied that while I was over there. That's lever throttle 0, which is engine 0. If your engine, if that were a left engine and you had a right engine, it would be engine 0, engine 1, throttle 0, throttle 1, mixture 0, mixture 1, etc. So we have that taken care of. So let's go to the prop lever and fire back up the, see if we can find the prop pitch here. So that's lever, prop pitch is the official name for animation. So we'll go ahead and change that and make it 0, _01. And let's just double check before I do it. Keyframe 0 is 100%, that means full forward. and keyframe 100 is 0, so that's what we need for this one. So let's add rotation here at 0 and 1 at 100, position at 100, and let's animate it while we're right here. Knock it down, pull this back. That'll be good enough, close enough. Alright, so let's move on to the mixture lever. Why don't we freeze that while we got it selected? Alright. Alright, so we're at 0. Let's go ahead and put in our rotation and position keys at the appropriate places and animate that. Let's just verify that it's the same way. We're looking for mixture here. Mixture right there. Oops. That is key 0 is 100%, which is rich. So that's what we got. We're good to go. So we're on animate. We move it forward and we'll pull this back to the neighborhood here. You don't have to be precise, because I can assure you that when the mechanics for these things are adjusting these, they're not precise to the degree. So we don't have to be either. So there we have the levers created and animated. So now we need some knobs. Let's cheat a little bit. So let's copy this guy, and we'll call it throttle handle. With that selected, we're going to take it up here, and we're just going to convert that to editable poly. Select all the vertices. Make sure we're in. Ignore backfacing. We're going to scale that down to somewhat appropriate size. Go to the top because I think it's a little too short. Enough to be able to get your hand on it. And we're going to extend it out like so. We're going to delete this poly because you'll never see it. And we're going to send it over here to, it's just about 50% here. And then we'll position it. Like so. Well, let's kind of get it centered anyhow. And you see that? X. Kind of like that, I guess. And if you want, you can, you could also, good grief. Back pivot only, centered object. Centered object, line to world, scale. Now let's just tilt this a little bit to get it out of the way of the other levers. And move it up. And it's probably a little more natural for the hand anyhow. Don't have to twist the hand all the way around. Alright, and of course you could clean this up a little bit, I suppose. It's a little easier on these to extrude that poly rather than trying to grab all those edges and chamfer. So we could just extrude that poly and then scale it down. That gives you a nice smooth rounded edge there, at least when you go through the smoothing. Select all and clear all and auto smooth. Alright, with that done, now we can just link it to that lever. So now we have that kind of action going in. And you're probably going to have to adjust the height of these to be comfortable with them. I can see right now that about 50 here. I'm not talking. I keep forgetting to talk for some reason. And I feel like I'm leaving you guys out here. But if you're watching, you're getting the idea. So, alright. So now we can just go about adding knobs to these bad boys. And for these, let's just do let's see. Let's do a sphere. We haven't done a sphere yet. We don't want it. Alright, what is it with? What am I doing with? I must have a setting wrong here or something. Let's do a 0.005. That's kind of small, isn't it, boys and girls? 0.09. Yeah, that's a little large. A 2. Now we're getting in the ballpark. That's still a bit large, but and as we'll clean this up, we're going with about 12 sides here, and then we will edit that. Not without permission, you're not. There. Good grief. Thing's playing games with me. We're going to pull these in just for kicks. Give it a little something different here. And then we're going to, just to save some polys, we're going to delete that one. Cap that, makes it one poly. The other side, we really don't have to worry about capping it. Just delete. I should probably delete the whole thing on that side. So let's get it in position. We'll see if we need to resize it any further. Duh. Back pivot only, center of object, line the world. If you don't line the world on the left, the x-axis isn't left and right. So get up here behind this. Let's see. Let's something like that maybe. Not sure if this knob is going to work for this or not. Not at that size, it's not, boys and girls. Let's see, if we go to, if I do that, I'm going to have to scale this. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. These levers are actually a little wide for these smaller things here. Let's move up and move in. We don't want, we need that. Anyhow, you get the idea. For some kind of a knob there. That's what you get. And so we'll just go with that. You know what you got to do here. So And then I suppose we could just duplicate this and we'll move it over here to this bad boy and reposition it and kind of resize it and whatever, make it different. And it really needs to be something. Maybe we should just rotate it. How about that? The other way. No, that'd look silly, wouldn't it? Who knows? Let's instead of using the non-uniform scale, because I've got some deleted polys on here, I'm going to do it this way because it would what's scale this down a bit. I think I should do that to the other one too, but we're not after beauty here, we're after instructions. See, this throttle really needs to be taller, but anyhow, you get the idea. Let's link that to this guy, and there we have it. So we have all your levers here, kicking and stomping. We have an ECU, and we have electrical box. That's the way you do it. That's the way you animate it. At least that's one way of doing it and animating it. When these go in the sim, you'll be able to control your throttle, your lever, and your mixture with those controls. Ready to go. Okay, that gives you an idea how to go about creating a couple more items for the cockpit. The ECU, some of these animations are a little different than what you may have run into. So, especially the joystick having the two different animations for different directions. That one usually throws people. So, but you can see we've got some things going on here now. So the old cockpit is coming together. Before you know it, I also added up here kind of a wiring harness. I just ran through I just created a cylinder and sized it down and ran it through these formers here. So just something else for visual interest. You could do something similar or different, different size or whatever on the other side to give you some more visual interest in the cockpit. Okay, so hopefully this little bit instruction here was useful to you, informative and instructional, and that sets us up 2 more objects in 2 plus 6, 7, and 8. So we're making headway here in pretty good fashion. So I will check back with you on the next video, and we'll see what we get to add to this cockpit next. So thanks for joining. Any comments, post them below.